Is getting connected. Got it. Now streaming. Let's double check. Okay. Awesome. So yay, we are live for Book Talk Tuesday. Welcome everybody who's out there watching us via YouTube. I'm Danielle Ramirez. I'm with Quiet Storm Services, and I will just share briefly with you all a little bit about Quiet Storm after. I just want to say, hey, Dr. Paigton Mayes, welcome.
Hello.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for the invite. I'm happy
Yes, so
about this.
I will share a little bit about Dr. Paigton Mayes. Once I tell you all that the mission of Quiet Storm is to be the creative books that empowers the writer, promotes authentic storytelling, and supports personal and collective growth. So we focus on memoir and creative nonfiction. And although Dr. Mays's book is a fiction book, correct? And
Mhm.
she does have a children's book as well. Another endeavor of ours is to just uplift authors who are out there making great work. So here we are, Book Talk Tuesday, and I'm going to start off by reading just a little bit about Paigton here. So, Dr. Paigton Mayes, PhD, MPH, is a community health psychologist and author with a background in community psychology and social and behavioral public health. Paigton has a doctoral degree from Wichita State University and a master's in public health from the University of Kansas School of Medicine, Wichita. She is currently an evaluation project manager at the University of Oklahoma Health Sciences and also has her own evaluation and research advising business. What? Um, Called Mayes Evaluation and Research Advising. So that's ERA, right?
Mhm.
Yes. Okay. Her passions include health equity, access to insurance, minority health, health education, and literacy, community engagement, the intersectional impact of racial injustice on health and research and evaluation. She has written one children's book, Warrior Child, and participated in a collective anthology um, by none other than me called Being Wichita Women. When she's not working, she loves playing video games, reading, writing, arts and crafts, and looking after her dogs, Midnight and Salem, which Peyton and I were talking before, and I was so glad that she added the information about her dogs into this. So again, welcome, Peyton. Thank you for being here. So I did want to include two of the previous books, right?
Mhm.
Because today we're here to talk about Crimson Warrior, which is really, really exciting. It's coming out to the world in 2025. So for anybody watching this year, they get kind of like the inside scoop, like the sneak peek on what's coming out next year. So if you're watching, you're part of an elite group. Um, for this upcoming book. So, um, Peyton, can you just tell us a little bit about Crimson Warrior? You can talk about the characters or the plot, or just kind of give us a sneak peek into what this book is all about.
Yeah, so I have gotten back into my reading journey in the past like couple of years, and I was like, I want to do a fiction book. I want to do like a chapter book. Because I did the children's book, and it's kind of based on the same thing, but the Crimson Warrior is like the adult version of Warrior Child in my head, is how I think of it. Because there's going to be Princess Phaedra, who's the main character, and all the characters are based off of like myself and people that are important to my life. And so they know like, oh, this character is going to be somewhat based off of you. The names are similar or they start with the same letter. But I wanted to kind of give it like an old timey, kind of like castle vibe, you know. So
Mm.
yeah, Princess Phaedra, who's of course based off of myself. And the overall premise is that she has sickle cell disease, and she wants to be a warrior. She wants to go to war and fight the good fight, almost like a Mulan-esque
Mm.
story. But of course, since she is royalty and since she also has this chronic illness, everyone's kind of like, oh, we don't think you can do that. We don't want to lose you because in the story, her parents have passed on and she lives with the king and queen, who are her grandparents. And what she finds out is that there is a sister out there
Oh.
that she didn't know about, and they are going to switch identities, and she's going to become this warrior, and try to keep, everything kind of under wraps. And then the idea is that, she gets sick during one of the battles.
Mm.
And I haven't decided how that's going to look or what that's going to entail, but then like it's going to be harder and harder for her to maintain like the secret, because everyone in the country knows that like Princess Phaedra has sickle cell, da 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 da. So we shall see kind of where that takes me, but that's kind of the overall idea of it. And then
Yeah.
there's going to be some love in there because I like a little romanticy, so I'm like, oh, there has to be a little love interest in there as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. It's like real life, you got to have a little bit of that love sprinkled in
Mhm.
there. Yeah, so Princess Phaedra sounds like she has got a bit of an adventure ahead of her,
Yeah.
in doing kind of the switch off with her sister. And I was reading through the blurb about the book, and something that really caught my attention that I just wanted to read. There's a part in there that says, "But destiny has a curious way of weaving its tapestry," and that really caught my attention because just the idea of destiny, and maybe like you said, somebody with sickle cell, and then their experience with people that love them may be not limiting on purpose, of course, but like out of love, of like, hey, we just want you to be okay. But that how that might then, be, I guess, limiting in some sense. So talk to me about like how destiny works into this and into Princess Phaedra's story.
Yeah. So I don't want to spoil the ending and
Mm.
say too much, but I really want um the takeaway from that part to be that like people with sickle cell disease, people with any chronic illness, we can create our own destinies. Like it is what
Mm.
we want it to be. And I'm getting emotional. Oh my gosh. I
That's
always tell
okay.
myself that I'm not going to get emotional, but when it's like so personal to who I am, like
Yeah.
it's very important. And I think that's why I was like, you know what, we have to get this into the hands of adult readers as well, so that they can understand like our destiny is what we want it to be. It's what we make
Mm.
it. And we don't have to be limited just because we have these chronic illnesses. It might look different, but the end goal is still the same. And that's kind of just what I wanted to share with the world is because I just think about my own path. Like I have a PhD, I have an MPH, and there's been times in my life where people have like, oh, like I don't know, can you do this? Can you go to school? Can you drive yourself? My own family, like, can you drive yourself? Like, what if you have a sickle cell crisis? I'm like, that's not how this works. But
Mm. Mm.
and so like I've had people try to tell me what my destiny is. And I'm like, we're not going to do that. We're not going to teach that to the younger generations. Um, and so, yeah, and kind of the inspiration too for wanting to kind of take that path is Fourth Wing. I don't know if you've heard of that book,
What is
but
it?
Fourth Wing.
Uh-uh.
So, oh my gosh, Danielle, you have to read Fourth Wing. It's so good. And there's a second book, Iron Flame. So, the author in that book kind of
Yeah.
based this chronic condition that the main character has off of her own life, and just made this amazing story about this this lead character who, yeah, she has this issue going on with her bones and like she's not where other people are, but she is a kick-ass dragon flyer, like the best of the best. And so I'm like, yes, that, but make it sickle cell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wrote it down. I'm gonna have to check it out because I'm always even though my bookshelves are filling up, like I'm gonna have to check that out for sure. No, I love that's a beautiful, beautiful message. And I thank you for allowing your vulnerability to show because like you said, if that's not the message going to the next generation,
Mhm.
like being able to talk about it is important and be real about like your experience because your experience may be different than somebody else with sickle cell and whatever we're facing in our life like we all have these unique experiences and even when with warrior child I sat down and read it with my daughters I mean and they were like it was a fun way for them to get educated so I love that you've geared one book towards children and then this next one is for adults, right? Like because there is a lot of education that goes into it too. But I think what I love what you said the most is like creating your own destiny.
Yeah.
Like that's beautiful. And I thank you for being willing um, to push through and to share that message. It actually you everything you've already you're like already answering all my questions. You're just like boom, boom, boom. One of the things I was going to talk about was how this intersects with other parts of your life. You and I have had the pleasure to work together on Being Wichita Women, which is nonfiction. But and I'm going to go on a little bit of a side note here, but something that I've learned about fiction that I absolutely love is I love when people can bring pieces of their own story into it. And I know that's like a big question for authors is like, oh, well, how much of you is in the story or like which parts are
Mhm.
yours or which parts are, you're kind of like creation. So it's always interesting to like hear how it intersects with other part of your life. And you and I have had the opportunity, we actually met through Safe Streets when we were doing community mobilizing. So talking about like public health and just all of these different areas, the things that you talked about that you're interested in, like health equity, minority health, all these things. How does your writing and creating books intersect with other parts of your life?
Aside from like me putting in myself into the stories, I think there's a level of like kind of, for me at least, there's like a self-care aspect to it,
Mhm.
to like this is not just, me just writing for writing's sake. Like it's very therapeutic, which goes back again to, the public health background and um really just finding different ways to kind of channel whatever it is that might be going on. And to also just kind of, I don't know, leave my mark um, as well. I'm trying to think of a more concrete answer to that um,
No,
outside of those things.
that's perfect. I think too deep down, like I think a lot of people want to leave a like maybe it's not as broad as like leaving a legacy, but people want to leave their mark, and there's all kinds of ways to do that. And just from knowing you and what you've done, I truly believe you're leaving your mark in so many different ways, with so many different audiences. And I have no doubt that Crimson Warrior is going to leave a whole other round of marks. So I can't wait until next year when I can hold it in my hands and go buy my copy and really dig into it because everything you said has like really resonated and I know it'll resonate with others too. So um,
And a little tidbit, I am,
yeah.
since this is like something that is ongoing, I am thinking of ways that I can kind of tie in like things that are happening in the world right now into the book. Um, so that's one thing that I want to do as well. So not just my personal life, but kind of worldwide things that are happening as well.
That's important. And I think even though self-publishing has exploded over the last few years, like the last few decades, like what a time for this era to be marked and recorded for what's going on. And I love that so much. Because even with Quiet Storm, my goal is really to, it's like you touched on two things. It's like the therapeutic aspect for the individual and
Mhm.
what the way like they're experiencing writing and journaling, whether it gets published or not. But then that like collective, like, how does our experience relate to what's going on around us? And how are those things, if we're being honest, sometimes those things are the things that are causing problems with our mental health and with our lives and making it harder, right? So like just trying to make sense of the world um
Yes.
in some ways, make sense in community. So okay, so I think my last question for you is just what advice or encouragement would you offer to other authors or writers, whether it's their first book or their third, or yeah, what kind of encouragement do you have?
Just start. Just start. Even if it's like a small idea, you're like, oh, I kind of want to do this thing. Write an outline, write down character descriptions or,
Mhm.
something even before you start the story. I mean, that's what I've done.
Yeah.
I have all these ideas, I have it written down. Now it's just writing. But or even also sharing your ideas with people that are close to you or people that you trust, to not only get feedback but also get kind of that validation, like, yeah, this is great, or yeah, I could see this happening, maybe adjust
Mhm.
here, or things like that, that will help you kind of stay motivated, um, as well. So I think that would be.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, so anybody out there listening, you heard it from Dr. Paigton Mayes herself. Just start. Okay, just start, write it down, get it going, get it rolling. Yeah, that's great. That's great encouragement advice. So thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing, not just about the Crimson Warrior, which is coming out again, in case you're just jumping in and you kind of move the little scrolly dilly thing around and you didn't hear, the book is coming out in 2025, Crimson Warrior. You can follow on Facebook, Peyton Mayes author is how you find her. And yeah, so thanks for sharing about your book, but mostly thank you for sharing a piece of yourself with the world and everything that you do. You really, I mean, you're a person who shows up. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to talk more about it and to kind of give some, I guess, background context too into this is more than just a fiction story. So thank you for giving authors this space. As-
Mm. It's my pleasure and honor. I couldn't think of anything else that I would rather be doing, honestly. So we will put links in the comment section, and thanks everybody for viewing, and be on the lookout next year for the book, and hopefully Peyton and I can sit down and chat again once we have it in our hands. So
Yeah.